What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. Very different look for us today. That is because I'm again in a new location as I was for the watch along. This time, you're joining me in Filey at our caravan. So today's Ramble is sponsored by Jimmy's Caravan. And if anybody wants to book, it's bookings are open from March 2024. So we're here for New Year's celebrations and what have you. So yeah, hopefully we have a better time than them players did out on pitch today. First thing I want to say is, so in terms of that, my signal may be useless. So we'll know once I get going as to whether this is something we can or we can't do. If not, we'll cut it short. A couple of things I want to touch on today. I mean, what do you say after that? It were expected. Before I go on to that, I will say thank you to everybody for the kind comments on the Prince interview. I were expecting a much more split sort of feedback, if you like, in terms of some people going thinking, I thought whatever I do, I can't win here with some people. And I've misjudged that slightly, which has been a pleasant surprise for me, really, because it's been the vast majority of it has been really positive. I am really pleased with how it went. And again, really grateful to the Prince for taking the time. What I will say is part two, I think is a lot more. I think you'll enjoy it. I enjoyed the first part as well, but I think part two is a little bit more direct, and there's some interesting questions that I'm looking forward to you guys seeing. So that will be out soon. I know people have been asking me for it. Thank you for the huge bump in subscribers and members, which are Ramblers, which we call Ramblers. So that will obviously be out first for Ramblers who support the channel, and it's my way of saying thank you to them for giving them that content first. But also, if you're liking what we do, and we obviously just want to keep putting out decent content for you guys, then please do. You can support us by subscribing. I think we're 3 away at the minute from 3,500. We did want 5K before Christmas Day at one point, but we can maybe try for that next time. So it's not just about the numbers, but I think it's great recognition for me that I'm doing something that you guys like. So thank you for that. In terms of today, the one thing I wanted to focus on, or one of the things I wanted to focus on really was, I've seen a little bit online about, oh, well, it's so negative, and I thought things were going to change under Wilder, and I thought, you know, if Eki had done this and put this team out, then he'd have been getting some right stick. And some parts of that I agree with. So what I would say is, when the team came out, and this has happened loads of times, whether it's under Wilder or Eki, when the team came out, I thought, oh no, what is going on? I know we had limited options today, but to see players like Thomas included, Norwood back in the side, I don't think that's us progressing. I know we're limited options, and I think some people were saying that's maybe Wilder and his little nod to the Prince and the board saying, look how thin the squad is. I need more options. And it may well be that because he's a smart cookie, and we all know that. But maybe that's the case. But again, they've gone out there and they've not been embarrassed. They've fought for the shirt. They've just not quite been good enough. And we certainly didn't expect anything today in terms of a result. It was what it was. And I think in the Premier League, especially in football in general, but in the Premier League, it's all about levels. And I think there's a bottom three, which we're currently in, obviously, in terms of the level. And I think the bottom three teams aren't as good as the 4 or 5 teams above them. And then I think they're not as good as the 4 or 5 teams above them. And then I think there's a top 2 out of the top 3. And then I think Man City are far and away above everybody else. So we haven't just come up against somebody who's a greater level than us today. We've come up against the Premier League champions, the European champions, and the world champions. Yes, they're not on the greatest run of form themselves, but their third team would probably beat our starting 11 on a lot of given days. So that is the challenge against us. And the question I posed in the thumbnail was, can we compete? Honestly, the answer is no. We cannot compete against a team like Man City. We can go and we can compete in terms of giving everything we've got and doing everything we can for the shirt. And I think we're doing that a lot more under Wilder. But in terms of expecting a fair playing field and us all to, you know, Forest have just beaten Man U. Man U are on a terrible run of form, but they're closer to each other nowadays than they have been for a long, long time. and they're on a run of form. And I get that things like that happens in terms of teams will get on a run of momentum and other teams will have a huge dip. But we weren't meeting a Man City side as equalisers. It might be a different game. But in terms of the allegations against Wilder, in terms of his anti-football tactics, where we're just sitting back and being compact, I do actually understand it. I'm not saying I necessarily agree or like. I do agree with it. I don't like to see it. We know that Wilder isn't that sort of manager in terms of, he likes to attack teams. He likes us to have the ball. But he's also, in my opinion, and this is all it is, and you can have your say as well, he's smart enough to recognise that he's coming to a team that's on the floor, not just on the floor of the division, but on the floor in terms of confidence. If we go out and we try and play expressive football at the Etihad against a team like that, we are going to get done 4, 5, 6, 7, God forbid, 8. Because the confidence in the players isn't there, and ultimately the quality isn't there. So by grinding out, firstly, performances and then hoping for results to come, then in my opinion, that's a smart way to go. So making us more solid and more difficult to beat has to be step one. And while he would much prefer to have a higher level of quality to go with and sort of build that confidence by squeaking out results like a Luton are doing, for example, but we haven't got the confidence to do that in our I filed that result today under a similar box to the Liverpool game where, yes, we lost, but we come out thinking, well, it's not a game we expected to win, and we're a lot happier with how we've performed. And I know we didn't get in there third an awful lot during this game, but I think it's difficult to expect anything other than what's happened today. So that's my quick take on it, really. I think Wilder's been boxed into a corner in terms of how we have to play at the moment. And while I understand it, I don't like it, but I don't think he will either. I think it's the only way we can go at the minute until now we're over that hill. We've got, 3 weeks now? 3 weeks. The window's going to open in a couple of days' time. You've got to hope and expect that we have been working very hard behind the scenes already in what has been a short period of time for Wilder, but we've got to have some plans just to go and have a plan now. And he's already said he wants 2 or 3 starters coming in. He's already got those lined up that are surplus to requirements. We're going to be doing a video on the plan for Jan. So we will be doing a ramble talking about what we should be doing and what my opinion is in terms of how we should go about taking on January and who should go, who should potentially come in. But obviously Wilder's got his plans up and running. And the Prince will touch on that in part 2 of the interview as well. So make sure you stick around for that. So, yeah, I'm going to get into your comments now, see what you guys think. And I don't think, I say this a lot, but I don't think we'll be here long. So you'll be able to tell me if you can't actually hear me or anything like that. So it looks like you can, because I'm getting a fair flurry of comments come through. Better result than I expected, but flipping heck, that was torturous, says Wayne. Absolutely right, pal. Did you see the blatant corruption in the Burnley game, Villa handball, and nothing given by ref or VAR? I'm devastated to hear that. No, I didn't see it, Matthew. I'm afraid, mate. I was driving through when that game were on, when our game were on as well, to be fair. So I had our game on radio and caught second half. As good a result as we can hope for. Results gone in our favour. They had, Darren, and I know you've put this early doors, but I think Forest have just beat Man U, haven't they? I might be wrong on that, but if they have, I think that's it, innit? Yeah, they beat them 2-1. So see what happens, he says. But Ollie says, I have to say, against City, it's not bad. We're still slow as always. Don't know if you asked the Prince about January, but he needs to spend money and bring players in. Yeah, I did, and that'll be coming up, mate. I think we need a change in goal, particularly. I think that's got to be a priority now. I've seen a few say like left back, left wing backs got to be a priority, because at the moment we had, I don't know where Max Lowe was today. Larouci and Thomas. I'd expect Larouci and Thomas both to go back. I hope so anyway. That's what I'm thinking, just for the squad balance. But Reece Norrington-Davies coming back in today is a huge bonus for us. If he can stay fit, he's our starter. I don't think we need a new left wing back or left back, because then Max Lowe supports him until we get to the summer. Evening, Bri. Hope you're well. Yes, I am, mate. Hope you are too. Another good, honest post-match in have to rebuild. We do, mate. We do. I'll also be looking at doing a video on over the next week or so that now we likely know our fate, unfortunately, why there's positives that we can take out of that. So, and I think it's good to be able to see it from both sides. Obviously, we want to stay in the Premier League, and there's still a chance that we can do that. But I think we have to look at why there might be an advantage to knowing that we're going to be in Championship next season. Glad that Archer and McBurney were dropped because they're not good enough at the moment. The Prem's not ready for Asula, Arblaster, and Brooks. I know what you're saying, and you're entitled to that opinion, Ollie. Only thing I say, I think Archer's good enough. I don't think we've been giving him right service personally. I think that's where we struggle, the creativity between the lines, between midfield and attack. McBurney, I don't think has done it at Premier League level. I don't want to put too much pressure on the young kids. I thought Solo looked great today. I think Brooks has looked comfortable in the starting 11. I don't want to be relying on him week in, week out. And we don't know how Blaster's going to fit in at the level. He's done great out on loan at Port Vale, and nobody wants him to do well more than me because he's a boy of blade, isn't he? I think he's a future captain of the club if he can prove himself at the level, but it's a huge step up. So let's not put too much pressure on the kids before we have to. I think they're going to be huge players for us next season. All three will be starters, I think, if we're in the Championship or certainly in and around. What are your thoughts on this Firmino rumour? I don't think it's got any legs. Not at all. I might be wrong. I heard the name mentioned in the summer, if I'm honest with you, and I was surprised to hear it then. I don't think it'll come off. No, Wilder out. That's in response to the thumbnail, I assume, David. Mr. Positive is in the chat. So nice to have you here, pal. You are very welcome here, as is everybody. But you certainly make your feelings clear, don't you? That no, we can't compete, and you don't want Wilder anywhere near us. So, and that's your prerogative, pal. No, we can't complete. Jimmy says Chirac, who's slowly steps back into the chat, which is fine as long as he behaves himself. I think we'll be relegated to Division 1 next season. Too much to put right in so little time. It's okay, though. It is what it is. We are what we are. I don't think so. I think we'll be, if we're relegated, which it looks like we're going to be, I think we'll be very strong next year in Championship. And I think Chris Wilder's the right man to lead us there. Vicky says, no, we can't compete. Chris, it's been drilled into so many people that we're gone, but 7 points isn't impossible to claw back. A big January is needed as well as a huge upturn in form. 7 points isn't, Chris, but let's look at the table now with that Forest result, because if you're anything like me, I think Everton will pull clear. So the closest team to us now is Brentford. They're on 19 points and have played a game less. And their goal difference is a lot better than ours. So you can give them an extra point for that. They're 11 points in front of us. So we've got to claw 11 points back in 18 games. From a standing start, we've got to be 11 points better than Brentford for the rest of the season. I think it's too much of an ask, if I'm honest. It's just my opinion. But I'd love to be wrong. I would absolutely love to be wrong. Don't know about you, Jimmy, but someone here doing my head in with somebody who owns this club and actually cares. Yeah, I have to say, Darren, I think it's... I think on X, it can be quite toxic, which was Twitter. I've had nothing but... I mean, the odd one or two potentially, but I've had nothing but positivity about the interview from the Prince. And it's very much appreciated. So it's been a really refreshing sort of bit of feedback, really, because I was ready. I was sort of, okay, I might have to lay low for a little bit or at least come out fighting. But anyway. Soon turning on Wilder, some of our expert followers. That always happens, doesn't it? And I think we have to be careful of that. Because obviously the results, what do we expect today going to Man City? You can pull the tactics in terms of being quite negative, but I've already touched on why I think that's necessary, even if we don't like it. You can't, for me, I think Wilder is the key to pulling everybody back together. So for those jumping on him, I think it's counterproductive. He's here to stay, isn't he? The Prince were quite clear on that in his interview with myself. I don't know whether we've got to the bit about where I question the length of contract. I don't know whether that's part 1 or part 2. I think it's part 2, actually. But Wilder's not going anywhere, and he don't think it's for a long, long time. So let's get behind this manager, this project. he's going to have time now to really start shaping how he thinks this squad should be looking. Because let's be right, it is so unbalanced, this squad. We've got 4 left wing backs in a squad of 25. What? Why? And we can't get a right centre half, to save his life, or even a central of the 3 centre halves. Evening, Ian. 3 weeks to get some work done on the training ground, a few new faces, and hopefully the second half of the season we'll see a big improvement. Keep believing. Absolutely right, Ian. That's what I think too, pal. Big improvement, even if it's not enough. I think all that we need to see as a minimum a huge improvement. Positive after Wilder's post-match, says Dave. Hard work ahead, some decisions to be made. We have to enjoy the second half of the season as much as we can. What will be, will be. Absolutely right, pal. Just listen to the presser. Sounds interesting. Couple in some surplus to requirements. That's one thing about him, isn't it? He won't sugarcoat it. He won't try and protect the players at all costs. I think Eki sometimes fell into that trap. I'll have a chat with the players and I'll make my decision, blah, blah, blah. While they'll just say, if you're not good enough, I'm getting rid. It were interesting to see players like Luke Thomas in the lineup today, who I didn't expect to play for United again. I did expect Wes to play, but I wouldn't be surprised if today was Wes's last game for United, which some may agree with, some may disagree with. He may stay on. He may play in the cup game at Gillingham rather than, if he's now going to be seen as if we bring in a new keeper and Wes is going to be our second keeper, then maybe Wes plays in the cup games. It'd be interesting to see which keeper he goes with. Does he put Adam Davis in shop window against Gillingham? I'm not sure. Ian says Forrest have just won and he thinks that's it now. I agree, mate. I agree. And our kids, right, we never had a better owner of the club. Yeah, we'd all like one with Man City that Man City's got, but it's not going to happen. At least he keeps the club safe and spends when he can. I agree, mate. I think it's be very careful what you wish for, isn't it? He did take us over it. Look, I'm not going to keep banging the drum because I think people know where I fall on it, and I don't want to sort of do down anybody else's opinion. But for me, I think the evidence is there, isn't it? And I think he speaks about, well, he definitely speaks about it in the interview, but again, because I've split it into 2 parts, I can't remember what you've seen and what you haven't, but he came into the club and we're at bottom of League One, pretty much. And we're now, yes, we're bottom of a league, but we're 2 leagues up in richest league in the world. And he talks about the squad the roster being completely different, night and day from what he brought in. And he's very proud of what he's done. We need a keeper, says Stephen. Absolutely right, we do. And 2 strikers. I'm not sure we do need maybe one more clinical striker. But I think in terms of numbers, we're okay. No. Next question. In terms of can we compete, says Wolfgang. Best we can hope for is to salvage a little bit of pride between now and May and rebuild in the summer. Expected result, at least it wasn't a battering. Absolutely right. David says, just got back. Just want to see us have a go rather than sit back and wait to get beaten. Brooks excellent again. At least we have a chance next Saturday against Gillingham. Not many complaints. Hate City, the most boring side to play. Rather it be in our boots than theirs and win 115 FFP charges. So, I don't know. Happy New Year, loving your rambles. Thank you, Louise. Happy New Year to you, and thank you for the support. We need a Chris Wilder miracle. We do. It needs to be a Bassett-esque Great Escape, doesn't it? Huge ask. In my opinion, it is. I think, to be honest, in terms of talking huge ask, it's the Luton game, isn't it? The Luton game's done us completely. And I think now we've accepted that may well be it for us. So we'll see. In my opinion, it is what it is, says Andrew. We ride the remaining games and fight and do our best. I think the change is come and gone of our fans need to keep their heads. Keep going, Jimmy. Thank you, mate. I will do. We need decent attacking midfielder. I agree with that. I think we could do it. Yeah. I mean, as I say, I'll be talking about what I think we need to do in January, but I think there's some big changes we can make then. I don't think they'll make the number of changes that I'm going to suggest or spend the money that I'm going to suggest, but I certainly think we need to get ready for next season and start that in January. Carry on playing 4 at the back, says RJH. I'm not. I know you've put this in Ramblers chat as well, pal, and again, it's all an opinion, isn't it? But I think we are a 3-5-2 squad, and I think that's where we're most comfortable as a team. I don't think we've got all the puzzle parts available for where we want to play at the moment, and that's why we've been experimenting with different formations. Having said that, I do want us to be able to switch to a 4, whether it be to start at a 4 or to switch mid-game to a 4 as and when we need to tactically. So whilst I want to keep the 3-5-2, I don't want us to just be pigeonholed as a 3-5-2 side, if that makes sense. Good that the Prince said we'll get some younger players, hopefully in January. Absolutely, definitely. Down, we won't catch them. I don't think we will. We'll be down come Easter, says Yozza. Not catching Forest or Everton. It's over. 3 that came up go down, says Paul. Absolutely right, mate, they do. 3 that went down come up. Big gulf staying up. I think that's it. That's what it's becoming. That when we talk about levels in the Premier League, that increases the gap between the Premier League and the Championship as well, doesn't it? You look at teams like Paul saying, Leicester are absolutely walking it with a Premier League squad in the Championship, and they lost Maddison and Barnes, but they're walking the Championship. There's only Ipswich that are upsetting the apple cart a little bit, because then it's Southampton and then it's Leeds, and then there's a huge drop-off between everybody else. So you've got to think that we will have a big chance of going well again next season. We've just got to make sure that we're one of the 3 promoted, don't we? Hopefully with the Leicester rather than the Leeds. Thought we defended really well. Asula looked lively. Under Eki, we may well have been battered. I agree. I think we would have been, but that's my opinion. Thought you well, Jimmy? I am, thank you, pal. Key players missing today. Bogle, man of the match for me. I thought he played really well. I thought Bogle did well today. It's over, mate. Need to give Wilder the summer to rebuild and squad to go again. Joe says, to be honest, when I saw the lineup, I expected us to concede more goals than 2. I know a lot of us said the same, but who are we? Who am I? Who is anybody to question the manager? He's the manager for a reason. I think we have a right to have an opinion on it. But I think, like you said, he's proven us wrong, because I thought that team would get done by more than 2. Well, hello there, Scott. With Forest winning, the team we're chasing, is it the final nail? 11 points behind now, excluding Everton. Yes, it is, I think, mate. I think it is. But we'll see. Well, we're not going to give up, are we? But I just think all we can do is concentrate on the next game, which sounds so dull. But we've got to be 4 game. Yeah, we've got to win 4 games more than Brentford for a start. Would have been battered by City if Eki was still here. I don't care. At least they're playing better. Eki clearly lost the dressing room. I've no issue today at all. We shall see. Sign some good Championship players and rebuild for next season. New keeper and a fair few others. Absolutely right, Connor. I agree with that, mate. Don't focus on the other teams around us. If we can't catch them, so be it. As long as we perform and are in games, we can't ask for much. I agree with that as well. I think if you accept that it's unlikely we're going to stay up, then all we can focus on is being better ourselves. And if that's enough, then brilliant. If it's not, then it's nothing that we can help, is it? 11 points behind. That's 4 wins. Hoping other teams drop points. No chance of catching them. Ollie Arblaster's been pulled from Port Vale. Jimmy, what's our take? Our take is that I think I've seen it online said he's probably Ollie Norwood's long-term successor. I think there are differences in their game. I don't think he's quite the ping king that Norwood is. I mean, there's a long way to go in there before Arblaster's developed, but he's only 19. We can't forget that. I don't want us to place too much expectation on his shoulders, like I've spoken about, but also I think he will be a very good player for Sheffield United. Whether it's at Premier League level, I'm not entirely sure, but I wouldn't have said that Andre Brooks would have been ready. I hadn't seen enough of him, to be honest, and we certainly haven't tested him at the level. It's sink or swim, and that's what I like. I'd rather that than send him out on loan to the National League like we did with Zach Brunt and George Broadbent and other players that I feel like we let down a little bit, because I think they should be placed higher. And this will be in my plan for Jan. Just a little spoiler update. I think we should be getting older players like Sai Sachdev and sending them out to the EFL on loan. And I think that's a conscious decision we should be making with our youth players. Ryan One, get him in League 2 or something of that nature, where he's 17 years old. But how does he get on in a man's game rather than just playing 21s football? Yeah, instead of 18s, he's playing for 21s. That's his next gradual step of development. But surely men's football is now the next step. And if we're planning longer term with our own youth players, I think we need to be placing them in competitive leagues where we can leave them for half a season or even the full season if we're talking about a year on, but get them hardened to men's football, and then we can make a conscious, informed decision on them next year. I've no doubt that Ollie Arblaster, if he's playing with us in the Championship next year, will be a very good player for Sheffield United because he's had half a season at Port Vale where he's been an absolute standout. So why can't we do that with more of our players? Why aren't we sending out these players that are never going to touch the first team on a regular basis? Ryan O'Neill being another example. Sai Sachdev won't have any minutes. Harry Boyes, who's doing it at the minute as well, but struggling to get in. But these are the tests, aren't they, that they have to face as individuals. And if Harry Boyes isn't going to make it at Wickham, and I'm not saying he isn't, but is he good enough to get in Sheffield United squad? He's making our decision for us, isn't he? Rather than making mistakes in our team and learning and growing as a player, he's doing it for somebody else. That's the whole point in development. It's only what we're doing for Man City with James McAtee. Anyway, that's why I'm a rambler. I think Wilder's also used to this training as a training game, used this as a training game to get players used to his way of thinking. He knew we'd lose, but it was a useful exercise to that end. I think, excuse me, I don't think he's chucked it. I was surprised to see some of the names in the lineup that I did. I was surprised that Archer were dropped. I can understand it if he thinks it's a run of tight games. I'm not saying Asula didn't justify his selection, by the way, because I think he did. But the fact that we've now not got a proper game for 3 weeks, you wouldn't be saying Archer's we need to start Archer against Gillingham, would you? So we ain't got a league game for 3 weeks. I could have understood it if it were between a load of tight games. But I don't think he's chucked it for that reason. But it's been an interesting squad selection. And I think there's merit to him nodding to the board and saying, might need a bit more here, guys. Did Prince confirm that Archer will go if we're relegated? Yes, he did. And we knew that anyway, didn't we? We're done, mate. Season over. Wish we could get to 12 points and just end the season now. I saw you put that in Rambler's chat earlier, right? I know that's just so we don't beat Derby's record. Look, we want to go down fighting, don't we? Let's be right. I've heard we're after Casper Schmeichel, Firmino and other superstars. More chance of Lord Lucan riding Shergar down London Road. I agree completely. I'm just trying to come in and interrupt the Ramble, I think. Come on, Blades. It's a shame Forest won, but results went our way at the bottom. We're not a million miles away. Couple of good players in, you never know. I love that, Alan, but what you've got to think is it's not Luton and Burnley we need to catch because they're not out of the relegation zone. So, yeah, it's great that we're still in touching distance of those two. We need to be in touching distance of 17th. Otherwise, there's no point. But I'd love to be more optimistic like you, pal. Firmino, God, no. The guy could hardly score at Liverpool. Never mind us when we created nothing. We create nothing. Everton will pull clear. Forest will now come good. Brentford are a good side. We're done. I'm not sure Brentford are good, but I think they've got enough they've got enough points accrued to not be in trouble. Certainly not be troubled by us anyway. Brentford also have Tony to return. I think he'll be sold, if I'm honest. 11 points after 9. Yeah, to get 11 from 20. I know to catch 11. You're right, mate. You're right. Brilliant interview with the Prince, Jimmy. Thank you, pal. Is there any other future interviews planned? We've got part 2 coming up. Part 2 will be out shortly. As I say, it'll be out to Ramblers first. I'm hoping in the next couple of days that'll be up and available for people to watch. Hi, Jimmy. This season has been a learning curve. We made too many mistakes pre-season, but with 5 new faces, we'll be okay next season. Can't disagree. I was expecting a massive upturn in results under Wilder. Bringing him in was about showing some fight and going down swinging. Do you not think we're getting that then, Sean? Do you not think we're getting more out of the players under Wilder? Because I do. I think we're more respectable now. I think we're harder to beat. We're still being beaten because the quality isn't there, in my opinion, which is why I think he's got a job on in January. Money needs to be spent for the Championship, not hope for survival. I agree with that, Luke, as well. I think we need to not draw a line under the season, but let's be sensible with what we're spending. So you bring in somebody like, I know it's been mentioned a lot, a Victor Johansson now, and maybe even sell Wes now or sell Davis now, and then give him a run in the side, bed him into the team, the squad, so he's not coming in the summer as a new player trying to get used to his surroundings the first few games. Just hope we sign Victor from Rotherham. January. Yeah, there you go. Great minds. And it's not a secret, is it? We've all been talking about it openly. New goalkeeper in Kasper Schmeichel and maybe a winger like El Ghazi, both available on a free. I put this into the Ramblers chat earlier because loads of people were calling for Kasper Schmeichel. And it's a genuine question. When was the last time anybody saw Kasper Schmeichel play? And some of you may have done, but I haven't. I ain't seen him play for 18 months. And Scott confirmed, I think he's 38 now, 37, 38. So what are we getting a prime Kasper Schmeichel? And if we're not, when does he start to decline? How is that us planning? And I get what you're saying. It's a short-term fix to the end of the season to try and help us stay up. But if we're all in the same boat that we're not going to stay up, or it's very unlikely, then I would much rather take a chance on a long-term investment for the club on a player that can come back down with us, like a Johansson. So he's our player, he's our investment, he's worth us spending the money on. We're not losing anything on a short-term deal like a Kasper Schmeichel. People forget Dark McCabe days where he'd sell anyone for 7 figures regardless of whether it made sense or not. Yeah, that was... Yeah, let's all forget about that. Not forget about Fjortoff and Dean and... wow. Must turn over teams directly above us, or we've no chance. We need a big January shopping list. We do, mate. We do. We need that Leicester striker from Nigeria, or someone of that big build. Is that Mavididi, or he's not going to come? He's not going to leave Leicester, is he? Or guaranteed promotion, guaranteed to be playing in Premier League next season. Wilder and Eki constantly talk about how important performances are, but I think we need to do what Luton do and focus on results. Well, Luton have... other than a fluky win against us, Luton got beat again today. So I know what you're talking about in terms of being gung-ho, but I think you've got to pick your moments to be like that. And I think we have been like that at times under Wilder. But you can't go to Man City and expect to throw everything forward and not get absolutely pasted, because we would have done, in my opinion. I hate when people say if Eki was in charge. We have to remember that before the Newcastle game, we were doing well in games. A bit like when Wilder got performances but not points. Yeah, but it's more than valid to say that after that Newcastle game, we fell off a cliff. We were atrocious, absolutely atrocious. Every performance almost after that Newcastle game, almost. We never recovered. I still don't think we have to a degree. Too many knee-jerk reactions. Yeah, it's been a season to forget so far, but got to stay focused. Forest winning just absolutely gutted me, and the Luton game was a sickener. Today's result is irrelevant. I agree with that, John. We weren't expecting out today, were we? Or a bonus. Unfortunately, I hate that as well. I don't think there's any such thing as a free hit. But this was the one, weren't it? If you're not going to get anything, it'll be at City. If we don't pay players like Firmino, a deal that Aston Villa would look at, a Firmino in his prime and stuff like that, to pay them sort of wages. It's time we broke the bank and went for it. Not when you're 20th and 10, 11 points adrift in. Disagree, Al. Disagree. You're entitled to your opinion, pal, and I respect it, but I do disagree with that. I think Wilder is broadly doing the right thing, rotating the team around before he's got the opportunity to get a decent amount of time on the training pitch and transfer market. Yeah, I understand it. I was just a bit perplexed as to some of the names I saw and some of the names we didn't see. I know Archer's not been the prolific striker that we all wanted him to be, but I certainly think he's been one of our better threats. And I was surprised to see him drop today. But as I say, Asula didn't do anything wrong at all. I thought he looked very lively, to be honest. We're not good enough, says John. Even a Wilder miracle can't save us now. Should have made the decision earlier. Absolutely right. That was it. That was the thing, weren't it? Newcastle. Bring him in after Newcastle. I think we're having a different conversation. Let's get a team together now and end the season well to prepare for next year. Every result seems to be going against us at the minute. Forest today, Luton last week, and Burnley and Luton the week before. That's right. Sometimes it feels, John, doesn't it, that it's just written that it's not going to be our season. And that doesn't mean we give up. But sometimes you just feel it, don't you? That things are just not going to go our way. Imagine if we got Cole Palmer on loan, him and Foden looking class. Good for England. Absolutely right. And that sounds ridiculous to those that weren't aware of that. But I can guarantee you it was very close to us signing Cole Palmer in the summer on loan from Chelsea. From Man City, sorry, when he was at Man City before he signed for Chelsea. If he hadn't have played in that Community Shield game and had a man of the match performance, then Chelsea likely wouldn't have come in for him and we would have signed him instead of McAtee. But and as much as we love McAtee, I think we can all say that Cole Palmer's a better player, which could have changed the whole season, couldn't it? Sliding doors again. We need to let Eduardo rebuild this squad in his own image like he did in League One days. We've had some servants to the club who need to move on, bring in some young, hungry talent. I agree, and I think he will. I think we might even see players like John Fleck go in January. I mean, I'd certainly expect him to leave in the summer. I think Batch will likely go in the summer. You know, does he keep Ben Osborne for the Championship? I understand there's pros and cons to that because he's such a versatile player, but you've got to question the quality. I think it's what did he say? What does he like to say? You can't take a wrecking ball to it, but I think there's a lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done. You're right. Young, hungry talent is what we need. It's so hard for newly promoted teams in the Prem to stay up because the gap of quality gets bigger every year. You have teams like Forest who spend 200 million and are only 16th. Absolutely right. Always the FA Cup to win, mate. Keep the faith. Love it. Love it. Bring on Gilliam. Jimmy, what do you think to Brewster? I don't rate him in our team. He's always injured and useless at scoring goals. I think he has always been injured, and that's the thing. And I think he's had a hard run at it. And it's been bad luck, hasn't it, more than anything else with his injuries. I need to see him get a lengthy run. I wouldn't be upset to see Ryan Brewster go out on loan for the second half of the season, if I'm honest. If we bring a striker in, I won't be upset to see Ryan go for half a season on loan to the Championship and just try and get some minutes under his belt, regular starts every week, hopefully scoring some goals, because he's still got another year on his contract with us after that. So it'd be nice to at least give him a little bit of a running start into next season, hopefully, because I don't think he's going to make a huge difference this year. Did you ask the Prince about him bringing Ronaldo in, seeing as we sat with him at the boxing? No, I didn't. But I did ask him about his Excellency Turki Al Sheikh and if he's going to bid on the club. Sort of just laughed me off. Firmino's on 325 grand a week. Ridiculous to think we should go. I don't think we will, mate. I don't know where it's come from, really, the rumour, unless it's heavily subsidised by the club, by his club. It's not even a starter, is it? 162 watching. Hit that like. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it, mate. And make sure you subscribe if you're not already, because appreciate it. It's yeah, we're growing all the time. I don't think the squad was our doing, but dropping of the heads so close against City, against Notts, City, Spurs, Villa, Luton. A better headspace would have done wonders for us, but that all stems from good results. That's right, Chris. That's true, mate. We're in a fight at the bottom four teams. It's not over, but we have to create more chances. Don't write the season off yet, but prepare for the Championship. Yeah, okay. Different gravy that today. It's time for total Wilder rebuild in Chris We Trust, says Russ. And I'm going to leave it there because I've come to the end of everybody's comments. There's no more loading anyway, so apologies if you're trying to get some in. But thank you, everybody, for joining me today. Yes, it's another defeat for United, but it's not unexpected, is it? We end 2023 bottom of the Premier League table, but I'm confident that we'll at least give a much better account of ourselves in 2024. If at this time next season we're top two in the Championship, I don't think that's an absolutely terrible thing, but that's a long way off yet, isn't it? Like you say, we can't write off this season just yet. Get our heads down, give absolutely everything we can until the rest of the season. As I said, thank you all for your comments so far on the Prince. The second part of the interview will be out very shortly. So tap that notification bell if you don't already, so you make sure you don't miss it. And yeah, thank you for your support. So for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades. Ramble on! Gustavo Homer into the top corner.